Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of our entitled parents. In today's episode, my son's finger boo-boo is more important than that man's heart attack. Karen and Mildred had a car crash and all sorts of drama befell the emergency department. My entitled mother kicked me out because I talked about my essay. Now I am even more depressed. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. My son's finger boo-boo is more important than that man's heart attack. It was another wondrous day in the emergency room, people running wild trying to keep up, frantic health employees talking over each other. The emergency room is a mixture of very severe patients and real risk of dying. Patients who really don't have an emergency but like coming here for who knows what reason, and everything in between. We had a 23-year-old male who dislocated his index finger, distal phalange, in a sporting competition. He came unaccompanied by his dad, the main antagonist in our story. We attended the son, and since we are an expensive private hospital, we called the orthopedist to come and fix his finger. Meanwhile, the lad was given ketorolac to help with the pain while he waited a few minutes for his specialist to arrive. As if on cue, in comes a man with chest pain. In the emergency department, we have to treat every chest pain as guilty of being a heart attack until proven innocent, so we begin investigations. We had finished taking a brief history and were setting up the electrodes to take the EKG, when entitled dad walks up to us and says, "Hey! My son is in a lot of pain, you cannot just ignore him like this." "Me sir, your son was given medication to aid with the pain and we cannot do more for him, the specialist is on his way to get that finger fixed." "ED, I know that, but you must do something, you cannot just leave him like that." The chief of the ER, "Sir, we have a more urgent case here. Your son is perfectly fine and nobody but the orthopedist can fix his finger as per hospital rules. That is of course, unless you would be happy a non-specialist plops that finger back into place and you accept the risk attention by a non-specialist carries." "ED, well, no, but..." "Chief, wonderful, now, please give us space, we are trying to work here." ED huffed and puffed his way back to the ortho procedures room his son was in. You might think walking into a room of 3 doctors setting up an EKG machine on a patient with a "I'm in pain" face would give the man a clue that priorities are priorities, but no. His son was way too precious to have a finger boo-boo sidelined for a man with chest pain. In case you are wondering, it all had a happy ending. The man with chest pain did not have a heart attack and the 23-year-old got his finger fixed and will be competition ready in no time. There are a lot people who do not understand priority in an ED. I understand you are in pain or scared, but please let us do our job. We are already short on people and we might have to give priority to others. Had the same injury. Popped it back myself and no need for painkillers. The dad was a selfish moron. The only times I was ever seen right away at an ER were when my asthma was so bad that I was in visible distress when trying to breathe and when one of my kids was coughing so loudly and deeply that it was very clear they were not okay. Otherwise, I have patiently waited over an hour at times while I had a sinus infection and very inflamed throat, or my not yet diagnosed tendinitis caused my thumb on my left hand to swell up and my wrist to throb in pain if I moved it. When you seek care at an ER, you would hope that they would take the most urgent cases first. The staff is trained to respond to life and death situations as a priority. Karen and Mildred had a car crash and all sorts of drama befell the emergency department. Today, we have another story of misadventure in the emergency department. In today's episode, we get the call from an ambulance, telling us 2 women had a car accident and are coming to the ED of our hospital. So we hear the acoustic cue the front desk plays to signal the arrival of the ambulance. Thankfully, the ED was not exploding with patients, so we can devote a lot of attention to these 2 incoming patients. We hurry over to the entrance, where we find the paramedics unloading the 2 women. Both of them looked very distressed, with pleads being thrown, moans and giving instructions to be careful. Both are immobilized in stretchers, and one of them has a rigid cervical, neck, collar. When the patients are on the asphalt, we learn the two women are mother and daughter, 67F and 42F. We will call the mom Karen and the daughter Mildred. The mom repeatedly stated that she wasn't badly hurt and we needed to attend Mildred. The mom was well enough that she could go on a wheelchair, good sign. Once in the ED in beds, Karen keeps screaming for everyone in the ED to attend her daughter. No need, of course, we direct only as many people as we need. This pisses Karen off. We begin asking questions as we prepare the EKG. We cut the clothes with scissors to avoid moving them if their spinal cord is compromised. Karen did not appreciate that, and as we are asking questions, we learn Karen called the ambulance. The car accident was a frontal collision against a wall inside a parking lot, going at 20 kilometers per hour, 12 miles per hour. Karen tells us she did hit her head, so we tell her we need x-rays of her neck and a CT scan of her head to make sure everything is okay. Karen now changes her story to say she did not hit her head, and that she does not want nor need the head CT scan, only her daughter does. We cannot force her, so we only do the x-rays. Everything is normal, of course. Turns out, Karen did not want the CT scan due to cost, as she did request the ambulance take her to a very expensive hospital. With Mildred, we did do the head CT scan, so I go to the radiology reading room to get the verdict on Mildred's neck and head. It was all normal, so normal in fact, Mildred's cervical spine didn't even look rectified, apart from the collar, of course. It looked so normal the radiologist got suspicious, as I had only told them the mechanism of the crash, not the speed, so the radiologist asks, "What was the vehicle's speed again?" Me, holding a smile, a blistering 20 kilometers per hour in a parking lot. The radiologist could hold a chuckle, and another was laughing pretty hard, who said, "I think I have a better chance of splitting my face by walking into that wall." We all had a good laugh. Mildred's CT scan showed no skull fractures and no bleeds inside, which is important to check, important for later. So back I go, and Karen had already called her DR, who works in this hospital, and requested a chest x-ray, as Karen insists the seatbelt hurt her. Sure, no problem. We also called an ortho to check Mildred's neck for sprains. Frontal car accidents can cause sprains to how the head whips, also rectifying the cervical spine, so we could discharge them with no doubts for anyone. As we waited for the orthopedist, the family members of the two arrived, so we explained the findings and calmed half of them. The other half were as difficult as the two patients and very stressy. They trusted more the subjective experience of the crash victims than our objective clinicians and radiologists. Mildred eventually began saying she needed to vomit, but clinically, no signs of brain injury and no drop in her Glasgow Coma score of a perfect 15, so we were not worried, and we gave her a recipient to catch that vomit. We had already given her an anti-nausea medication, so good. It is used on cancer patients successfully to treat chemotherapy nausea, and we had given her the max dose plus an antacid upon entry intravenously. So in our eyes, there was no way. Gave her the recipient and told her to use it and not to worry. Mildred must have thought she was losing her audience, so she began doing the loudest gagging noises we have ever heard and spitting saliva into the recipient, so the family members demanded attention. The chief of the ED walked up to Mildred and the family members, with Karen in the bed next to her looking intently as the divisions between the beds had been removed so they could see each other. "Chief, so, we saw in the CT scan, as you know, that Mildred does not have any injuries or internal bleeds. Her neurologic exam is as good as when she arrived, with no appreciable declines, and not as much as a concussion is suspected from our part. We believe it is best she manages to expel that vomit if she needs, or otherwise perform another CT scan to see if a bleed developed or an MRI so we can discard any injuries the CT may not show." The chief looked intently at Mildred for her decision. Mildred, who was now being faced with delivering on that vomit threat, facing another expensive CT scan or an even more expensive MRI, decided no further action was necessary. No more gagging noises were heard. Now, that chest x-ray of Karen showed a nodule that was not there in a previous chest x-ray of 6 years prior we had in the system, so now we had to tell Karen to have follow-up with a pneumologist to investigate it further. It could be cancer. That went down about as well as you could expect. The rest of the episode follows with more drama, but nothing special enough to report here. Ortho Mildred, and so the two stressy patients leave the ED having never had as much as a single scratch. The best part is, when they tell the story, everyone in the ED are gonna be the bad guys who forced them to do all these expensive tests. Oh, absolutely. Except the orthopedist. They were both enchanted by him and would submit themselves to any study he suggested 20 minutes after meeting him. Unsure how his superpower works. They sound like fun patients. On a side note, anesthesia makes me throw up when I come out of it no matter what they give me. The last time I had surgery they gave me the anti-nausea drug they give chemo patients just in case. I woke up and started throwing up. No matter what they try I throw up every time and don't feel better until I do. ROFLMAO, I fell off an 8-foot balcony to the asphalt and didn't kick up nearly that much of a fuss, huh? My entitled mother kicked me out because I talked about my essay. Now I am even more depressed. I, 20F, live with my BF, 24M, for 1 year now, let's call him A. My parents are divorced and I grew up with my mother. I have 4 siblings, 25F, 23F, 22M, and 12M. When I was 16 I started dating A and my best friend at the time didn't appreciate him. She started messing things up mainly by talking crap about him to my mom and siblings. At 17 I was kicked out after going off on my mother and sisters about how they have been acting towards me and how they appreciate my best friend more than me. My mom said that it would only put me in danger and won't stand up for me as my family would. I told her that I had been SA multiple times by her cousin and that she did not even once care about the multiple times I tried to unalive myself. All she cared about was her reputation. My sisters quickly backed up my mother and told me to stop lying and called my mother's cousin to tell him about it. I told my sister that she is well aware of what I am talking about as she had gone through it too. She denied everything and my mom told me to leave. It's now 3 years and I miss them a lot. I sometimes want to go back home but I see their Facebook and Instagram posts. My mother's cousin is more present there as if after what I told them they grew closer. This is killing me even more. I know this is going to sting a little. You miss a wholesome family, but you shouldn't miss what you never had. You can miss the people, but would you really want to go back to a life where you need to be vigilant and defensive all the time? Your mother knew of the assault and chose to ignore it. Your sister chose to ignore it. You didn't. My advice as a survivor is to take back parts of your life that you miss and start building a new one. After years of being assaulted, I started taking self-defense classes in different types of martial arts. Just starting gave me a confidence boost and the exercise itself is cathartic. The best revenge is to make something of yourself that is bright, beautiful, and flourishes. Make new friends, gather new experiences, travel and see new places. They will end up being envious of your attitude, your grace, and your life experiences. You are the better person, but not in spite of what was done to you, but because of it. You just have to choose small steps at first. I know you can do this, because I have. I have been down the road you are on, and I chose myself. I am now older, have been many places around the world, and had 3 beautiful children. In time, you can have what you want in life, but you just have to take the first step, then the next, and then the next. If you fall or stumble, get up, dust yourself off, and get back to work. 1 foot in front of the other. Soon you'll realize that it doesn't take a lot of effort anymore. You will be okay. You just have to want to be. Trust me, you are better off without them. I know it hurts, but it's better to be alone than with bad company, and you have your boyfriend. My boyfriend can never fill in the space I have for my siblings. It's just that I miss them so much and I know that this shit with my uncle is still going on with my sister, but she is staying quiet. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.